I'm kind of disappointed a little bit. You know, you're being honest. I honestly think Pink Tape was low key better than this.
Because I always bear in mind I'm an old ass guy from England. This isn't really music for me. However, that being said, this guy's been around nearly a decade, and this is fucking shit.
Lil Uzi has fallen off musically at this point. You know, there's not really much else for me to say. I feel like he's gone creatively bankrupt, and he's reached a point now where not only is he at a crossroads in terms of not knowing where to take his sound, but he doesn't seem confident in any of the styles that he's attempting.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that little Uzi album is complete ass. I'm gonna be honest with you. Probably the worst Uzi album I've ever heard.
I know Eternal Atake 2 hasn't been out for very long, but the fan reception from critics and fans have been overwhelmingly negative. It all just feels so weird that we were just waiting 3 years for Pink Tape, and now we have EA2 just a year later. Before we get into talking about that album, I want to go back and take a look at Uzi's original vision for EA. Back in July of 2018, Uzi announced on an Instagram post that his next album will be called Eternal Atake. After the many leaks, label issues, and creative revisions to the album, we wouldn't see EA come out until another 3 years later, and not gonna lie, it was pretty fucking fire. Not perfect by any means, and to some of Uzi's core audience, they were upset that it didn't have any songs from the original. Even though I think the UFO skits that happen at the end of a few songs can be a little bit redundant, I still appreciate how much effort Uzi put into this album to make it feel like you were getting abducted by aliens and sent on a space adventure. I understand it's annoying when people say they want the old Uzi back, but I personally love it when Uzi tries different things. Fast forward to 2021, Lil Uzi went on Instagram Live with Fat Joe, where he discussed that EA didn't meet his own expectations.
I say the music wasn't that great for me. It would have been an amazing project for anyone else, but the music wasn't that great. The music is, it's great ride music and it could live, you know how shit goes. Maybe in a little bit time, it'll be a hit off of there, but usually my shit is automatic. And I had one or two great songs on there out of a whole fucking deluxe and a whole album. And I can actually, after I sat back, I got so.
Which to me sounds crazy given how great both EA and the deluxe are. Since Uzi didn't feel satisfied by his own work, hearing how hungry he was to get back into the studio and give us an album that he was confident with was exciting to hear. 2 years later, Uzi released Pink Tape, and while it was greeted with mixed reception, the album managed to go number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and sold 167,000 units in its first week. While it was a huge commercial success, many fans questioned if it was successful to Uzi's catalog. He made it clear that he was going to focus on being more experimental, which led him to drop Just Wanna Rock for the lead single. The song was massive for its catchy Jersey Club beat, which led to many celebrities and influencers to post videos of themselves dancing to the track. During my first Pink Tape listen, it was insane hearing Flooded the Face and then Suicide Doors right afterwards. I had no idea what to expect going forward. To some people, it made it feel directionless, which I agree, but that also made each track stand out on their own, since you weren't just getting a rinse and repeated song. Overall, I think Pink Tape is good, and its lows definitely come from the album having 26 songs. It ends up feeling like a mixed bag because of its very questionable song choices. Don Cannon went on the My Expert Opinion podcast and said that Uzi has 680 songs in the vault.
You know they're going to want to hear that, though.
Of course, I mean.
So if you could use somebody from your label, who
Vert,
would it be?
Uzi Vert, for sure.
Vert.
For sure. I gotta say him because he's nonstop. Like right now, he's working on the album. He got 680 songs.
Sheesh.
That's work. Yeah.
Hold on,
Living in
wait,
the
wait,
studio.
wait, wait.
In what time frame?
Wait, hold on.
In what time frame? How long did it take
18
him?
months.
If that's true, I refuse to believe that anyone had involvement but Uzi when choosing to have CS, That Fire, and The End appear on the album. The album would have benefited a lot more if some songs were just flat out removed. I think it has some of Uzi's worst music. As for the positives, it does contain Uzi's old signature sound, a bunch of Instagram snippets were finally released, and it had some amazing new material that you're not going to hear from any of Uzi's past albums. Tracks like Suicide Doors, Nakamura, and especially Rehab, which is definitely his most personal song. This album gave us a lot to look forward to when it came to Uzi's next project. If Pink Tape was a bit more fleshed out, I think it would compete against Love Is Rage 2 for the best Uzi album. I'm glad all the songs on the album sounds like it was made this year, and it's way shorter than Pink Tape, but unfortunately, I don't think Eternal Atake 2 does anything for Uzi's discography. He's once again going for a different sound instead of following upon the rock style he previously did on Pink Tape. It doesn't continue from EA1's production or style whatsoever. On September 24th, Uzi randomly announced that he was going to release Eternal Atake 2 during a fit check.
I'm cooked, but I gotta drop Eternal Atake.
Before EA2 came out, I was already a bit skeptical because earlier this year, Uzi was spotted in the studio inhaling a balloon that was allegedly filled with nitrous oxide. I was hoping that its potential usage wasn't going to negatively reflect onto his music. The first track, We Good, doesn't go as hard as other intro songs on his past albums. The hook isn't bad, but listening to the verses were painful due to Uzi's high vocal pitch. It doesn't help either that Lightyear is a way better song. The flow is insanely fast, and I love the "I don't think that they ready" chorus in the middle of the song, since the track doesn't contain a hook. A common problem I have with this album is that when it sounds like it's picking up, it gets immediately dropped. And this right here might be one of the worst 3-song lineups in album history. A ton of thoughtless lyrics while sounding stupidly high off of Galaxy Gas, and the hooks just have Uzi saying one phrase over and over again, and it never turns into a good rhythm. Not an Option picks it up a bit. I especially like the woo ad-libs, all while sounding like a cyborg. She Stanks instrumental offers so many opportunities for Uzi to sound good, but he instead does a terrible voice switch only to sound even more annoying. Things finally start turning around with Mr. Chow and Lift 'Em Up. I like the aggressive sounding chips and dip, even though I think the beat carries, and I'm still kinda torn between if I like the distorted bass or not. Black Hole has a horrible beat drop and a terrible singing performance, one of Uzi's worst songs by a long shot. Chill Bay does recover the listening experience by being a pretty good R&B song. Uzi doesn't offer as much as I would hope so, besides repeating the sample that was played in the beginning. I just wish the track length gave Uzi more breathing room so that he can fully utilize his new sound because it's actually great. Right after that, we have Goddard's song, which I find the nuh-uh-uh-uh chorus to be really annoying. Lyrics aren't terrible, but I think the "I'm in love with the syrup" rhyme scheme he does towards the end is really stupid. Still, it's somehow not close to being the worst song on the album. I can understand why many fans like it, but it's just not for me. Same thing with Perky Sex. I think a sex song at this point into the album was not needed at all, but I do think the hook sounds great, especially with those amazing piano keys in the back. Now we get a song that's easily top 3 on the album. Conceited has a beautiful melody, Uzi's singing is sounding great and actually listenable. And the group chorus singing the hook at the end was a nice addition. And then we finally have the last song, Space High, which I'm not gonna lie, I hated the Percocets part at first, but after a couple re-listens, it sounds fire and I just think all the song needs is another verse. I thought the beat was amazing, Uzi's rapping stayed consistent throughout, and I really like the "Hi, how are you doing? I'm Lil Uzi" hook. While I wasn't expecting to hear a lot of what EA2 had in store, I think it falls flat in so many areas. I think the second half of the album is where it picks up, but a small incline doesn't make up for a huge decline. The second half still contains a couple duds. It wasn't until track 8 when the album started to build momentum, only for it to be quickly shot down. I'm glad that I got to hear some new material, but at the same time, we've had Uzi try rock, R&B, sex songs, deep voice, nitrous deep voice, Jersey Club, and now song covers. It's like he's trying to be the jack of all trades while mastering nothing. I've heard some people say that in due time this album will be looked at more like a Yeezus or a Whole Lotta Red. I agree and disagree because when Cardi dropped Whole Lotta Red, he didn't release anything else and just waited to see how fans would resonate. When Uzi dropped Pink Tape, he immediately announced that he was working on Love is Rage 3 and then was frequently teasing Butter 16. I think this will be more of a Yeezus situation, whereas the music itself is hated by fans, but it's highly loved by the artist. Uzi went on an interview to say that he gave it his all for this album and that we can expect new music soon. If he does another Whip It speedrun during the process of his next album, he's not only sacrificing his health, but also the music quality. I refuse to believe that he was giving it his all given the short time frame between albums. Another thing I'm hearing is that Uzi dropped EA2 just to get out of his record deal, which is backed up by the fact that Don Cannon doesn't have any producer credits. He posted Frank Ocean on his story signifying that he finessed his record label. If that's the case, I really don't care if that's the only reason behind why Uzi dropped EA2. I'm not looking at the context behind the album to support its reason for existing like it's supposed to be some type of excuse for what we got. I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he could have just released a great album to get out of his deal. Uzi has stated that he likes it when the reception is 50-50. He thinks it's more interesting than putting out an album that everyone loves immediately because that'll quickly die out. I see where he's coming from, but it just feels like anytime he releases a new album, he makes a random excuse and then quickly moves on from it. Then he'll start rolling out and teasing his next project. It's like he has some type of issue within his confidence to make music that'll stick. Especially because on March 3rd, he dropped 2 freestyles and then quickly deleted them. Even though fans have been begging him to drop Radar, only for 2 songs to come out that don't even sound finished. I don't even think Uzi has fallen off musically. He's played so many snippets throughout the years that he clearly knows what the fans want. But for some reason or another, he isn't giving it to us. I'm not sure what he feels like he needs to prove. On November 18th, he hinted that he was done with Galaxy Gas. The snippets he'd been previewing on Instagram sound fire. I'm still going to continue to remain optimistic for the future of Uzi's music. This could all just be a minor setback for a major comeback.
We